Rev up your engines!
Well, a bunch of owners of Jeep Grand Cherokee L's have faulty key fob electronics, and now Cherokee is a giant brick that they can't drive. Now, these are the super expensive 3-row Jeep Grand Cherokees that they revealed last year. And what's happening is the key fobs do not connect to the vehicle, and they're immobile and you can't drive them. Key fob technology has actually been around for quite some time. No surprise that Stellantis and Jeep and Fiat don't have the intelligence to build them correctly, because all they're doing is make them as cheap as possible, sell them for as much money as possible, and keep their fingers crossed and hope that they don't break before the warranty's up. Now, this is affecting 2022 model year Grand Cherokee L's. Soon the 2023s will be out, so they could have been out 8-9 months, but still. They break that fast. The owners of these Jeeps, the computer in the Jeep seems to forget that that's a good key and it won't let it start. If you know how a lot of these keyless fobs work, they usually have a secret key inside so you can unlock and get in the door. But the problem is, this one woman, she tried to open the car with a key, and she did. But then when she got in, the Jeep thought it was being stolen. It shut everything off. And once it did that, it turned the woman's alarm on. She couldn't lock the car, or do anything because the alarm's going off and thinks the car's being stolen. Another guy, Alex, he had one, and he says, bought Jeep on Saturday, had it towed to the dealer Sunday. He just got it and it didn't work. Woo-wee! Talk about horrible quality control. Could you imagine? You pay all that money for one of these things. You can't drive it the day after you buy it because you can't get in because the stupid keyless system doesn't work correctly. I don't care what anybody says. These keyless systems are a bunch of crap. They cost a fortune to fix when they break. If you want an anti-theft system, the absolute best thing is what a lot of companies, including Toyota, used in the past, and they still use in their cheaper cars, is a regular key that's got a cut key with an immobilizer in it. So you need both a key and the immobilizer chip to start the car. As I've shown in other videos, stealing a keyless fob car is easy for a professional thief. They can just steal the communication. They can have a blank key fob, then they can get in your car with the machine that I have, and they could just reprogram it and drive the car away. And that's how some cars are being stolen these days. It's actually a less safe system. I gotta admit, it's a safe system because the owner can't even drive the car. So maybe don't think about buying one of Jeep's products. Then you don't have to worry about being stuck in something like this, because the idiots build a car that, so far, these people, they said they can't figure out what's wrong, and they're sitting at the Jeep dealer waiting to be fixed the new car that they just bought, or one that is a few months old that decides it's not going to communicate with the keyless ignition system and the car won't start. And eventually, if you use the key to get in, it won't even let you get in and out and lock it anymore because it thinks someone's stealing the car. Sebastian says, I got a question about Honda transmissions. I know Honda used to have a problem with the automatic transmissions. I think they were Jatco. I heard they're better. What do you think about Honda and Jatco automatic transmissions? Well, unfortunately, you've got bad information. As far as I know, Honda never used Jatco transmissions. They designed their own. And then back in the past, you go back 20, 30 years ago, some of the Honda automatic transmissions were relatively weak, especially the ones hooked up to the powerful V6 engines, and they could burn out. Honda is a very good engineering company, and as time went on, they've improved their stuff. And especially you take the modern Honda transmissions, Honda designs and builds them all, and I believe they always did anyways. Our son's got one, he loves it, and he drives like a maniac, and he still gets great gas mileage. So Honda is a good engineering company, and they learn from their mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. I've made mistakes. Tell you what, the mistakes I've made, they're burned into my brain, so I don't ever make them again. That's the thing about a mistake. You make a mistake, and you're smart, and you're honorable. You learn from it, you never make it again, and you do a better thing the next time. And if you're an engineer, you say, oh, geez, we screwed up. We made that bearing wrong, so let's make the bearing better, and let's never screw up like that again. Always make sure that bearing is really good. And Honda's that way, so I wouldn't worry about the modern ones. But they never did use Jatco transmissions. Husky says, police cars are strong. They claim they're well maintained, but what do you think about buying police car municipal used vehicles at auction? I am not a fan of people buying police cars because the police drive like maniacs. I got police friends in Houston, and they drive like maniacs. They don't care. It's not their car. They smash into things. They fly over curbs if they're chasing after criminals. I would not buy one unless you wanted to buy a shell of a car and rebuild it. You want to do that, that's perfectly fine. But buying the police cars, big mistake in most cases. Unless they were certain types of police cars. Like I know a guy here in Clarksville that bought one, and it was a narcotics officer undercover. So he just drove it normally. He didn't chase after people, and it still ran pretty good when he bought it. A lot of times you get fleet municipal vehicles. They can be okay vehicles if they're not too high mileage. A lot of times they don't put that many miles on it. So that's a better deal. But the used cop cars, like in the Blues Brothers, you know, they got theirs, they fly over the bridge in Chicago, land on the other side. If it really was a cop car and did it, I suppose it probably would have broken in half when it actually did that. Unless you're planning on rebuilding the car entirely, it's not a good idea to buy a used police car. They have the heck beat beat out of them generally. Chris598 says, does anyone know what this warning light means? I have an orange warning light coming up. It only happens when it idles. When I open the door and shut it, shows up for 3 seconds. It makes a beeping sound, and the warning light goes away. It has an exclamation part inside it. It's on the top left corner. If you got a key fob, change the battery. Hope that fixes. If you have another known good key fob, use that and try. It thinks the car is being stolen. It's not working correctly with the electricity going from there to the car. Now, sometimes those systems go a little haywire, the security systems, if your battery's low. So find a guy like me, put up a machine, load test your battery. It could just be a low battery. They'll often do something like that. Simple fix. But if it isn't, you got a problem with your key fob system, try a new battery or try another known good one. And if you find your other key fob starts it and the one that you have doesn't, go get another one made, because you always want to have 2 good ones in case something happens. That's why you want to always have a good second key. Got a problem with that system? First, try a known good key. If that fixes it, then get rid of your other key and get another one made. Everything wears out, including the keys, and those stupid fobs eventually wear out too. David Brown says, my daughter's looking at a 19 CX-5 Touring, 2.5 liter engine, Skyactiv transmission, all-wheel drive. What's your opinion? Mazda quality has been going up. Toyota owns, I don't know, 20% or something, and they've got a deal going where they're making Mazdas and Toyotas on the same assembly line, someplace in Alabama, I believe. They are much better made, and that is usually a pretty well made. Now, it is a used car. As I always warn people, I know I sound like a broken record, but pay a mechanic like me to check it out before you buy it. You never know. If it was wrecked or flooded, you don't want to buy it. You never know the history of a car. I personally would be kind of leery. Why is somebody selling a 3-year-old car? What's the reason behind this? Maybe it was wrecked or flooded or stolen, and they all got to get rid of this car fast. Always have a mechanic check out any late model car before you buy it. Somebody could buy a new car the next day, they could wreck it and then try to sell it. So you got to have it checked out. T-Series says, Scotty, my keyless entry barely works. Sometimes I have to press it many times to unlock the doors. 2013 Ford C-Max. Just take your stupid fob apart and put a new battery in. It could easily be that. Hopefully, you've listened to my previous advice. I tell people, always have at least 2 good keys. At least 2, right? If you think the key's bad, get the other keyless. And if that works, great. You change the battery in the other one, that didn't work. And then if the other one does work that you have, like I do, here in the drawer, then you'd know, okay, I have to get a new key made, I'll use the other one. I always have at least 2 good known ones. Now, if it's not that, and it's the receiving unit in your vehicle, it can cost a fortune. So, before you do that, have the alternator and battery load tested. The weak battery, weak alternator can also do that. Start with all that. A lot of times it's just a stupid battery in the unit itself. Nagy C says, my 2021 RAV4 shocks broke. Is that normal? Well, it's not normal. They shouldn't break that soon. I don't know where you live. I was watching one of these Grand Tour on Prime Video. I like those English guys that used to do Top Gear. The new Top Gear stinks, but the old one was great. And they all left and went to their new show that they got on Amazon, Grand Tour. And they went through some place, I believe it was in Africa, and those roads were horrendous. And if you're driving on crappy roads like that, anything will break, right? But if you're driving on normal roads, no, that's not normal. It's 2021. Toyota would have to fix them free. I mean, there's no doubting that. Unless, like, you bashed into giant holes and then you bent the rims and broke stuff, they're not going to warranty something that was abused, but it isn't normal for those things to break that soon. No, my Toyota with 90,000 miles still has the original shocks, and they work perfectly fine. Mr. Pudden says, Scotty, what's a good sub $100 scan tool for Japanese cars? All right, I would say go look at the Innova scan tools, INNOVA. All the auto parts stores sell them. And if they got one that's close to 100, buy it. Now, if there's one that's like 30 bucks more, buy the one for 30 bucks more. It'll do a lot more. In that price range, they make pretty good scan tools that can do quite a bit on Japanese cars. You're going to get a heck of a lot more if you buy their $300 scan tool, but you don't want to spend that. See what they have in the lower price range, because they make good ones in that price range. Drone Production says, is a 2015 Acura MDX a good luxury midsize SUV? If it was taken care of, yes. They're excellent. They're well-made vehicles. You have to get them tested out. That's a 7-year-old high-tech fancy Honda. Acuras are just fancy Hondas. A lot of technology in those things. Get it checked out. But they can be excellent vehicles. Customers I have loved them. And anybody that really complained about them, as long as they change the oil regularly. James Walker says, what's the best product for cleaning up a rusty frame on an old Toyota pickup? Okay, well, one, you got a rusty frame on an old pickup. If it was one of those ones that had the frames, it could just be shot and you can forget it. If it hasn't rotted the whole way through, when you hit it with a hammer, it just crunches and goes in. First thing you got to do, blast it all off. Then coat it with anti-rust stuff. then prime it, and then paint it if it's not completely shot. You said an old pickup, it might be completely shot, and then you're just kind of screwed, because once the frame goes, you go frame off restoration, you got to take the whole vehicle out, buy another frame. That's more money than the vehicle's worth. It's not worth doing. You got to get rid of the rust first. If it's really bad rust, they say, oh, you sprayed this on? No, it doesn't. You got to get the old stuff off, sandblasting or sanding or steel wool, whatever, before you start the process of sealing it. You can't seal old rust that's got crumply pieces. If you put anything on it, it will not work. You got to take the heavy rust off first. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.